is the best job in government. It's the best job I will ever have. I don't think that at the state level or even the federal level there's any job that remotely comes up to what mayors in many cities have. You have a chance to really, at the operating level, make a decision, and you can't duck it. You know, at these other levels, they can be for and against at the same time. At the city level, you almost can never do that. You've got to actually go out and say what you do and implement it. And I find that a great challenge, and there's something very satisfying about the intellectual honesty of it. You know, I think it's very flattering that people would joke about running for federal office, but the truth of the matter is, the most likely scenario is that I serve out this term of 988 days, something like that. 969, who's counting. And then go on with a career in philanthropy would be my next guess. I'm not going to go buy the Wall Street Journal, if you want to know that. I'm going to work on this, and you know, I think it's great miss.
What's the downside of saying I'm not running for president? I'm not planning to, I'm not going to.
I've said that. I'm not running for president. I'm not planning to. What else do you need? You know, that's I've said it 1,000 times. It never seems to satisfy Mr. Saul, but then he's, if anybody's promoted the candidacy, it was his words. People are using that on blogs all over the country. You know, and whether it's committed Mr. Zuckerman to go along with what his staff feels about my potential at a national level, I really don't know. You'll have to, perhaps he would be willing to be interviewed for that. I'd call him. I could give you his phone number. Yes, sir.
Oh, a two-part question. Arthur Sulzberger said this morning that, you know, we could do worse if you were a presidential candidate.
That's nice of him to say that. Grant might remind the New York Times they did not endorse me the first time, but did the second. Were you there this morning to hear your boss? You did not bother to cover a major endorsement by the publisher of one of the great newspapers in the world?
It's our publisher, so I can write that in.
It's understood. Well, Bloomberg has the same policy, actually.
Oh, yeah. What promises have you heard from the presidential candidates that you think would be useful for people like us to track in a similar way that you're doing here?
Well, everybody wants peace and prosperity. Okay, how are you going to get it? Nobody wants the war in Iraq to continue, but how are you going to pull out, and what happens next? And you've got to be able to say, if pulling out of Iraq causes this, this is what I would do. If staying in Iraq causes that, this is what I would do. The same thing, addressing the issue of Social Security. Who's going to pay your Social Security? We don't have a birth rate great enough to have somebody around who's going to be contributing to come up with the funds that we need so that you can retire. And particularly if we go on with this craziness against immigration, there's not going to be anybody that able to do that. What are they going to do about it? Everybody wants medical care. Okay, we all agree we cannot afford medical care for everybody for every single thing. Which things are you going to ration and to whom, and how are you going to pay for it? Just saying I want lower medical care. I mean, I think there's a whole host of every single one of these issues, and there's a whole bunch of people are unwilling to talk about. Nobody wants energy dependence on foreign oil supplies. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Concrete terms that what's the cost and how you're going to get over the political problems. And if I propose something in the city, you would hold me to a very different standard. You would demand an answer to every single one of these things. But we don't tend to do it outside of New York City. New York City's press corps, in all fairness, is more focused. It is bigger. It does ask more pointed questions to try to get at the crux of the problem. I don't think you do it, quite honestly, ask enough. You should be demanding of not just me, but anybody that runs for office or holds office or influences us. When you say you want something for New York City, fine. Yet congestion pricing. If you're opposed to it, what are you going to do about our kids breathing air that's polluted? Okay, are you going to go to the funerals? Are you going to go to the hospitals? Are you going to sit and talk to the parents and explain why? That's fine if that's what you want to do, but those are the kinds of questions that you should be asking, I think, the elected officials to answer. Sir.
Mr. Mayor, not that you are or plan to, but if you were to run for president, Would you put out a list of these?
So I didn't, but if. Judith, where's Judith Reagan now that we need her? What was your question?
Would you put out a list of these promises and a graph so that people could follow?
Look, I'm not running for president, but I do think that every presidential candidate should put a list of every single one of the key issues, and you should, if some of them miss some of them, go and get them to fill those in and create a matrix. This is what I do. I think that, you know, electing a president of the United States is as important a decision as the public going to have. I think doing it on the basis of party is absolutely ridiculous. I think doing it on the basis of sound bites. You have 10 people in a debate, each gets a couple of minutes to talk about the future of the free world, about the future of my children and grandchildren. I don't think that's enough for me anyways to find out what they do or to make an intelligent decision. And I think that we just have to have the Fourth Estate hold those people to the standard of at least answering specifically the questions. And if, when you do your research, another candidate says, oh, ask him or her about this, fine, put it into your questions. But in the end, and you can refine it again and again as we get closer to the primaries, the public should know this is what this person will do, this is what that person will do, this one requires pain here, this one requires pain there, and so that there's no equivocation. There's a whole variety of views. The range of candidates and their political persuasions is enormous this year. And yet I don't think most people understand. Somebody says, nice person, but, you know, it doesn't matter that they have views, they're going to hire good people. I don't think that's the case. I think it's hard to, you'll never find people with the experience of having run something the size of the federal government, but each candidate should be asked, okay, you don't have experience doing that. How are you going to fill in? What experience in your background is germane to doing this? Show me what you've done. Show me what you do. Who would you appoint? You know, how would you approach this problem or that problem? What happens if the following takes place in the world? That's what good government's all about. So, should we give one more question or no? We have two. One, sorry, I was going to give you one, but these other guys haven't had any. You and then you, sir.
Okay, I have a less popular topic. Several hundred business owners and workers gathered in Flushing to protest the Willis Point development plan. Does that give you any pause about the Iron Triangle development?
No, where are the thousands and thousands of people who will be working in the new Willets Point, including some of those people